Hello and good morning if you are watching this. And I would just want to say a quick thank you for doing so. Right, in front of me, what I have is one of my old shoes. Now, even though I know that this would have never fitted me again after having my children, I still kept them. I did have the pair. I probably may still have it somewhere, the other one around originally. Or it may have ended up in the bin. Now, this shoe in particular, I brought it to wear with a dress for my sister's wedding. And she's been married now for 15 years. So that's how old this shoe is. But I decided to keep these pair of shoes just because I really, really like them. And I decided what I was going to do was upcycle them into something. And I just never got around to it. Now, because of fast fashion, which is something my friends talk about, especially those that are vegetarian and vegan, shoes in today's society only have a life of around 3 months. After 3 months, most shoes become unwearable and do not last, especially children's shoes. The amount of times I've gone into shoe shops and I was going to buy some for my nieces to wear with these dresses that I had brought them for an event, but sadly they outgrew them within the time frame because, as you know, children they grow quite quickly. And even the shoes I was looking at buying my nieces had a disclaimer on them saying that you were basically advised not to wear these shoes all the time because the external leather or plastic that they were made of would wear over time and they would fade. As far as I know, it wasn't like glitter, but it was like a glitter kind of effect on the shoes, which leads me to believe that it was some kind of like maybe vinyl wrap or something, but I don't know. With this shoe, even for the age of it and the fact that I used to wear them every single weekend whenever I went out after my sister's wedding, which wasn't very often, it's still in pretty good condition. And the reason I brought this one was obviously because of the heel. It was like a wedge, as opposed to being constantly pointed. It was very flat. And again, I wanted something that was stylish at the time, but practical. And again, I wanted something that was open toe, because at the time, I was quite happy with my feet. I'm not happy with them now, but I've had 3 children and your feet do change when you're pregnant. And feet, unfortunately, are one of those things that people tend to neglect and don't know how to take care of properly, which is why your feet will never be as perfect as they will be the day you are born. And you can tell a lot by a person by their feet as much as you can by, obviously, their hands, because they are the 2 most used parts of the human body. And so my aim with this shoe is to obviously upcycle it. Now, if I do upcycle it, the likelihood of me then being able to sell it as an upcycled item may be quite difficult, because unfortunately, due to trading standards, new rules and regulations around obviously selling things, especially handmade goods, is constantly changing, especially in the UK. But it amazes me how we live in a society where, we're encouraged to reduce, reuse, recycle, upcycle, and repair is another thing now that a lot of people are advised to do and are doing, are what they call repair shops. But yet, because of the strict rules and regulations that the United Kingdom proposes on their on society as opposed to other countries, even if you were to follow those rules and follow those guidelines, there is still the issue of, could you then realistically sell that item if you wanted to? So do your research is all I'm going to say. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with this yet, but it's definitely something I want to do. The other thing is, obviously, I just wanted to show you was obviously these boots. I didn't even have them 3 months. Again, it was supposed to be leather upper, man-made sole. And you get that now with a lot of footwear. You will rarely find shoes that have a leather sole. Obviously, you know, leather is an organic material. People will say, will have their own personal views on using organic, natural materials, you know, leather, fur, wool, anything that's obviously comes from nature or from another animal, which is why plastics were invented. And as my argument has always been, nobody is ever going to be 100% vegan or 100% vegetarian. What is plastic made of? Plastic is made from some type of oil, which is a fossil fuel. And, you know, and where does oil come from? Oil is something that is formed over years and years and years under the ground, which we then drill out of the ground and then put in ships and then bring back to a harbour, providing there isn't an oil spill, and then used in the manufacturing of products. And again, you know, they are always going on about how fossil fuels are one of the biggest pollutants within society, how they're trying to eradicate fossil fuels to reduce the carbon footprint of the human race. And it's like, well, if you're going to want to do that, then what are you going to make your clothes out of? You're going to have to go back to organic materials. And then there's the argument of, you know, cattle, again, they're one of the biggest polluters of methane gas. So it's always going to be this double-edged sword. But the problem we've got is because of fast fashion, shoes are not built to last. I mean, if I could have brought this pair of shoes knowing that it was going to last me, because I'm an adult, my feet aren't going to grow anymore, that they were going to last me a year as opposed to 3 months, I would only have to buy one pair of shoes a year, unless I chose to buy any more because of the expectations to do so because of the fashion industry. But unfortunately, because of the fashion industry, instead of buying one pair of shoes per year, and believe me, I have tried to do that. I have tried so many different types of footwear over the last 20 years to find something that is sustainable and not always stylish, because obviously I want something sustainable, practical, especially when I used to work, because I used to work outside. I was a landscape gardener. I used to work in hospitality and catering, especially like in kitchens. So again, you wanted footwear that was durable because of the cleaning chemicals that you would use, you know, especially when mopping floors. And the soles would literally just disintegrate. And you imagine, you know, if you're using chemicals on a daily basis that are disintegrating your shoes, what are they then doing to your skin? What are they then doing to your internal organs if you are breathing in these fumes? So, you know, there's a lot to think about. But unfortunately, shoes do not last more than 3 months anymore. And it is really sad that that is the case, because I really, really did like this pair of shoes. They were really comfortable. They were a wide fit. So again, they were great for my bad feet. But what I found with these ones, it was the sole that cracked. And where the weak point on these shoes was obviously where you bend your foot to walk. But it's strange that I obviously must have bent my left foot more than my right, which isn't surprising because I do have arthritis in my right knee. Because when you look at the right shoe, the sole is pretty much 100% intact. So another thing that I've also considered doing was buying 2 pairs of the same shoe, so that when one of the shoes wasn't usable anymore, maybe the other one would be. I've even looked at seeing whether or not the sole could be replaced, but again, a lot of cobblers, it's an industry that's a dying trade. I've took it to a cobbler and I've said, look, all it needs to be done is resoled. Is it something you could do for me? And they've said, no, it's not cost effective enough. It's something we won't do. So unfortunately, this shoe is completely kaput, but yet the leather or the upper material is still intact, even the zip. So again, I'm going to look at doing something with this shoe so that it doesn't go to waste. I mean, I did want to keep my children's shoes, and one of the reasons for that was I don't have any to hand, and even mine is a little bit hard to show you, and it was because of the soles. Because on the soles of children's shoes, especially if they're from Clarks, they always have a really, really cool pattern on them. Whereas adult shoes are quite, unless there's something like a Louis Vuitton or a fashion shoe, the soles are quite plain and, they will have some type of grip on them. But children's shoes always seem to have, in the grips themselves, really cool patterns. And I always said to my children, we could keep your shoes when they don't fit you anymore. Because I always said I wanted to keep the first pair of shoes my children ever wore, and I don't know what happened to them. They may have been taken to a charity shop in the end. I'm not sure. It was just one of those sort of sentimental things that I always wanted to do, like keep the baby teeth, keep the umbilical cord, which people do, first haircuts, first pair of shoes, but realistically, are they really going to want them when they're older? But I think it's more for sentimental, being a parent sort of thing. But I always find children's soles to be absolutely really cool. And I've always said, they'd be great for poster painting or for putting on a t-shirt, because you could literally just roll it over with the ink onto a children's sole and then use it to create a piece of art. Obviously, due to trading standards, due to trademarking, due to loads and loads of rules and regulations, Clarks would probably say, oh, no, you can't sell that, because that's our design. But for a bit of fun, for children or for a school, it's something potentially that could have been reused, but in a creative way. So I will see what I'm going to do, like I said, with this shoe. And just get the right one again. And this shoe. And as you can see, both of them are completely different. And both of them, ironically, as silly as it sounds, if I just turn them around, on my left. So please stay tuned, and thank you for watching.